Hey, what's going on, everybody? Good morning, good evening, my esteemed countrymen, friends, family, all that shit. Hey, welcome to a brand new show of the Daily Mind Podcast. Welcome, everybody. Always good to have a show at the end of the day. It's one of the highlights of my day, as you guys know. I'm always super excited. Even if I have a bad day and I have a show coming up, it kind of changes everything, changes my whole mood. Again, besides also seeing my wife is definitely one of the highlights of my day. But anyway, what's going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday for those who are just waking up back home in the States. And for those who are starting to bed down over here, I'm over the hump day. It's Wednesday night here in South Korea. And for most of you, it is Wednesday morning. You guys are just starting to get over the hump day. So make it a good one. Go get some coffee. Go get some food. You know, get some sex in this morning, whatever gets you up this morning, let it work for you. But anyway, welcome to the show. You guys already know what time it is, right? One of my favorite times in the evening, showtime, right? But you know what? Before I go on with today's show, I got to give my shout outs. I was sitting there listening to some of the episodes we did this weekend, which was some of the funniest shit I got to say I've heard in a while. This has been a very difficult season to produce. But after the few episodes that we've actually made and I sat there and edited, it's a lot of fun. Originally, there was supposed to be a show yesterday. However, I didn't announce it, so it doesn't really count on me. Yeah. But I had to move it a day to the right simply because I had to. I know I don't need a damn echo back there. Let me explain to them why.
Look.
So what?
She echoed it.
I'm gonna echo my foot in your behind. So I have to push the episode to the right because I had two shows that hasn't been done yet in terms of the editing. So I had to take a few hours to get those shows up to speed and just keep it going. So I finally got those episodes up. It was part 2 to dating outside your race, and is there such thing as stupid question? Oh. JT Money. Oh shit. Hey, good morning, dude. What's going on? I got JT Money in the house. What's going on? What's new, man? It's been a while. Morning. What's up?
No to everything. That's just how I feel. I'm saying no to everything. Live in
I didn't even ask a question. What are you saying no to? I haven't even asked a question.
Oh, my fault. Ask the question.
There is no. I just started the show. I'm getting it out there.
Go ahead.
This man, you just come on the show. No to everything. I'm like, whoa. I didn't even we're only 3 minutes into the show. It's all right, man. It's all good. It's all good. But you should have been on these past episodes, man. These episodes were wild. You know, we talked about, dating outside your race, if it's a preference or is it a prejudice. We talked about all types of... Okay, so you weren't on my show. So automatically, you said it's a preference, dating outside your race. Let me ask you, JT, you ever been with a white woman before?
Hell no.
Okay, but nonetheless, you just said that dating outside your race is a preference, even though you never really dated outside, but it's a preference, right?
I've dated outside. I just ain't had no white woman.
Gotcha. All right. Well,
the only way it could be a white woman, she got to be a snow bunny. She got to be mixed with black somehow, some way, some form. If she ain't mixed, she ain't getting it.
Then she ain't all the way white. Unless she identifies as white, I mean, You should have been on that show, though.
That's the closest you get.
All right, but you should have been on that show, man. That shit was, it was a lot. And King of Kings, you said Doug is an okay show. Well, that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Tonight, we're actually going to talk about, or today, we're going to talk about the cartoon Doug. The reason why... You ever seen Doug?
Yeah. I'm old.
Okay, Nick. Hey, you don't got to say age. Hey, listen, if you're a 90s baby, 90s kid, then you know this show all too well. That's what we're going to get into. Yeah, shit. I love Doug. The reason why I picked Doug, now I was going to do a show on this a while ago, but I felt like the time was now to kind of pull it out of the slow cooker and just really talk about the show. Now, King, you said, is it really Nickelodeon or is it technically Disney now? Because didn't that show become Disney? See, you're jumping ahead.
Doug,
okay.
No. No, Doug is Nickelodeon. Always gonna be. You
So
can't.
here's the
That's a game.
hold on. Hold on, JT. You're breaking up. You're breaking up. Now, that's one of the things I'm going to talk about. You guys are jumping ahead, though, but that's one of the things we're going to talk about because at one point it was a Nickelodeon cartoon. Then it was bought out by Disney, who completely damn near changed the entire cartoon. I think, though, the Disney version did produce more episodes and even did a movie. Doug's first movie was under Disney, not Nickelodeon, but everybody knows that the Nickelodeon version is way better than the fucking Disney version. Disney changed up the way the characters look. They made it a little less of a serious tone. A lot of people didn't like it. They didn't like it, but we're going to get into all that and everything. So in case, I was going to take my time with it, but we all know what the topic is tonight or this morning. We're going to go back in time and we're going to talk about the cartoon Doug. Now, a lot of people said this cartoon was boring. I enjoyed Doug. It even influenced me because Doug reminded me of me in a sense, right? Doug was this 11 and a half year old boy, right? Pre-pubescent boy who, like any other kid his age during that time, wondered about a lot of things, kind of lived in their fantasy, wrote in a journal. I used to write in a journal too. And in fact, he was the reason why I started writing in a journal was because of Doug, because of the character. But Doug was a lot deeper than a lot of people think. And you got to understand, when this show came out, it was during the age of like coming of age teenagers. You had the Wonder Years, then you had all these teenage shows like Saved by the Bell. Doug was basically almost like a animated version of the Wonder Years in a sense, right? It was narrated. It's like just like Kevin, he was going through his trials and tribulations. King, you said people still writing in journals, they just call it chat GPT. So the last time I wrote okay, JT, you write in the journal through chat?
Not through chat. You chat GBT. That is the journal.
That's crazy because you know what?
Feedback.
I never heard of anybody writing a journal through chat, but chat, you can have a whole conversation. In fact, I came across a content creator earlier. I swear to God, she was doing a live, right, on here, just talking to chat the entire live. And I was like, I've never seen anybody do that. That shit is different. Just having a podcast or just streaming something where you're just talking to chat the whole time. And people were watching this shit too. So I can imagine AI is not going anywhere. That's the sad part. And I got executive. AI is taking over everything, man. And I'm gonna do a show on AI because
they need to go do our jobs. Like I asked you, go do our jobs that we do right now. Go do our jobs.
Shit, it's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time. And I got Anna on the show, executive producer, co-host, and original OG female co-host. Anna, what's going on? Good morning. Good morning. And King, thank you for the rose. Damn, you need to spit that out. The fuck, you got a whole loogie in the back. This man. Who the fuck was that? That's you. Well, what was that? You're like the only one on the mic.
Yeah,
damn.
I'm breathing. Trying to breathe.
Shit. Now, King, you said 2007. Yeah, well, make sure you make that, make sure you put that as your VA rating. Shit. King, you said 2007 was the first iPhone. What is technology going to look like in 20 years when we're getting cars driving themselves? I don't trust a car driving itself. I'd rather drive the damn car.
We already got
they got taxis.
Teslas.
Yeah, Teslas, taxis, Waymo taxis. They got those driving themselves in California right now. It's scary shit.
Not forgetting in Atlanta, they got the DoorDash thing that they got like a DoorDash Uber Eats thing that just pull up to the restaurant, pick up your order, and drop it off to your house.
You talking about that little robot that they be beating up on?
It only drive on the sidewalk, but you get the food.
Well, I mean, well, shit, I know in LA they're sitting there like vandalizing those things, which is insane. Like it's gonna make any sort of difference, but I'm gonna leave that one alone. I'm gonna get back on track. We'll talk about that in another episode. We're gonna definitely talk about some AI. That's a definite episode. But we're gonna stick with what we're gonna start with, and that's Doug. All right, now Anna, let me ask you: have I know you're old enough that you remember Doug on Nickelodeon, right? A lot of people remember the Nickelodeon version of Doug, which is by far the best version. of that cartoon. So that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about Doug. We're going to analyze the characters, the premise, and we're going to decide which version of Doug was the best version and why did it switch to Disney. I literally heard a podcast on this topic, and the creator, Jim Cummings, was on the show, and he explained why the switch. He wasn't even involved in the Disney version. That was his own cartoon that switched to Disney. He wasn't really involved in it at all. And that's the sad part about it, all right? So in order to better understand this cartoon, we got to go back to August 11th, 1991. It was the first day that modern Nickelodeon went on the air. Now, Nickelodeon has been around since 1978, originally, the original Nickelodeon. But the Nickelodeon that we know today went hot on August 11th, 1991. And the first 3 cartoons that came out was, I'm about to answer that question for you right now, Anna, Rugrats, Ren and Stimpy, and Doug. Those were the first 3 cartoons to premiere on August 11th, 1991 on Nickelodeon, right? The first 3 fucking cartoons, right? So Doug comes out, right? So Doug comes out, right? Now, this was like the perfect cartoon because it was during that coming of age where you had like Saved by the Bell, you had like teenager shows starting to emerge. Okay, Doug wasn't exactly a teenager. He was a preteen. Okay, he was about 11 and a half years old, 11 and a half in the cartoon. Okay, so it says that Doug was created by Jim Jenkins. Now, Jim Jenkins, I said Jim Cummings. It's actually Jim Jenkins. I apologize. He is the creator of Doug, and he based Doug on his own upcoming when he lived in Richmond, Virginia. Now, in the show, he lives in a town called Bluffington. Now, Bluffington is technically in Virginia, but Bluffington is not a real place in Virginia. It's based on the creator's upcoming when he lived out in Virginia, right? So it originally aired. Now, the Nickelodeon version of this cartoon originally aired from August 11th, 1991 to January 2nd, 1994. And yes, hon.
You on Chrome?
Yes, I'm on Chrome. So I'm good. So after that, it switched to ABC, which aka Disney's Doug, from September 1996 to June 26, 1999. Yes, Doug went all the way up until when SpongeBob started. By that time, Doug was done. All right. The show features. Are you all right back there? You need a moment? My man is like losing over there. Like allergy season. Anyway, so the show focuses obviously on the title character Doug. He's got to catch a breath. The show focuses on according to his early adolescent life and zany hijinks of his title character Doug Funnie, aka Doug Yancey. His middle name is Yancey. All right, don't ask. That is his middle name. Last name Funnie, who experiences common predicaments while attending school. What the hell was that?
His middle name.
Nah, that's not. His name is Yancey. His middle name is Yancey. Don't ask. I didn't create the fucking show. So, he's in his hometown of Bluffington, which is technically in Virginia. Doug narrates each story in his journal. Again, if you ever watch The Wonder Years, the main character as an adult narrates his own story as a kid. So that is exactly what's happening in Doug. I told you, it's a coming of age cartoon. Now, Anna, you said someone in your hometown name was Yancey. Who names their son Yancey in the first place? That's a crazy ass name.
You said it was a son.
Huh?
You said someone.
Yeah, someone named their son Yancey. It's a male name. I just don't. I never met anybody with the last name or even the first name Yancey. I don't understand him. But it's usually a Yancey is more likely. It's always a dude. It's never really a female. It's never really a female. And thank you so much for the gifts, Anna. That one I've never seen before. A Shard of Hope. And of course we got Rio 8585, aka Jim Crow. I don't know why the fuck you changed your name to that, but you said Yancey or Shakway. What kind of Shakway? Whose name is that? If you're out there naming your kid Shakway, yeah, you better off just naming him Yancey. Anyway. So the cartoon itself, it focuses on real topics, right? Now, this cartoon was a little bit different, okay? Cartoons, back in the days of Looney Tunes, they were, just slapstick type cartoons. But Doug actually had a premise that focused on real life things that kids would go through. And it focused on platonic and romantic relationships. Obviously, Doug was in love with Patty Mayonnaise. Whether he was infatuated with this girl, Patty. People still question whether or not Patty Mayonnaise was black or not. And I'm going to get into why the characters were also different colors. A lot of people, they looked at this and they're like, okay, Doug and Patty were like the only two that were actually reminiscent of real people color. Skeeter was blue. Roger was green. Like, why are these characters so many different colors? I'll get into it. Now, King, you said, I remember he was streaming. He was a special agent and he was taken down because of his teeth hurting. Yeah, Doug had a lot of daydreams because he was such an imaginative preteen, right? Because I think Doug on a mental state was suffering. That's what I'm saying. There is a dark side to Doug, and I'm going to get into that as well. There were people that analyzed this cartoon over the years and said that Doug was suffering from a lot of maybe mental illnesses. But Doug is a preteen boy. Like, he's just a kid who is discovering life. It may not necessarily been him just going through mental episodes. It just could simply be him just being a kid. Okay. So he had to, in the cartoon, and again, this is different than basically anything we've seen in cartoons. Now, King, you said, I'm not trying to argue with you, but why does everything have to be broken down into mental illnesses? That's because nowadays take it like this, King, right? And I know you're not arguing. I got you. We're cooking right here. When we're younger and we're watching cartoons, they're just cartoons, right? But when you get older, you start looking at the cartoons that you grew up with a lot differently. You start looking at them from a fourth dimension, right? For example, watching Scooby-Doo, right? Now, we just watched Scooby-Doo and the Mystery Machine Gang. We watched them just solve crimes. Then we started analyzing the characters a little bit more. And, we were like, oh, Shaggy was the only one that could understand Scooby because, he was on that stuff. And then we started analyzing things a little bit differently because we grew up. Now everybody wants to take a psychological take to the things that we've watched. I think it makes for great study, don't get me wrong. And you're right, why can't a kid just have an imagination? But what if there was a dark side to Doug, right? That's the thing people are trying to analyze with shit like this. And then you said, Rio, you said Shaggy was on the green. Yes, believe it or not, Shaggy was on that stuff. If you think about it real quick, and I know I'm kind of getting off beat here, but Shaggy was the only one that could understand Scooby. No one else could understand Scooby. Not to mention, they were always hungry, and it was the 1960s. Put two and two together, all right? They were on that stuff. Both, and Scooby only got secondhand contact because of Shaggy. Now, King, you said how I like to see it's not being analyzed. It just has some mature humor for our parents to enjoy. Yeah, because a lot of people didn't realize that also Doug, like SpongeBob, has adult themes. But it was mostly just really for kids, And this was at a time where even talking about stuff like this in these cartoons were real taboo. All right, but in the cartoon, he dealt with platonic and romantic relationships, self-esteem, bullying, and rumors. Yes, the idea of rumors being spread through school can definitely have an impact on kids, right? So also on Doug, things that were being spread about and about him and other things going on. Yeah, they highlighted these things. This was different. This was not like anything they've shown before. And of course, many episodes centered on Doug's attempt to impress his classmates and crush Patty Mayonnaise. Doug was afraid to talk to Patty. Like, this man, or this kid rather, was almost definitely afraid to talk to Patty, but he fantasized about her every single time. Like when he was the special agent, saving Patty and all this shit. Like, we've all had that moment where we were like fantasizing ourselves in particular situations with particular people. And Doug just had a very vivid imagination for a boy his age. Now, Anna, you said, have you seen Scooby-Doo Escape Spooky Island? It's a live action one. No, I have not. I've seen the first live action movie, which I think was better. Then I guess maybe I think they had like a sequel and shit too, but I don't remember. I've never seen Spooky Island. I have not seen it. But going back to this real quick, the creator, at first, Doug was supposed to be a whatchamacallit. I think it was supposed to be like a children's book at first, and it was rejected as a children's book, but later became a cartoon, which worked out for it better. And Doug did not look like Doug when the book came out. Now, it says that the creator, Jenkins, developed Doug from drawings in his sketchbook that he created over the course of the 1980s. Again, Doug was supposed to be a children's book. It was not supposed to be a cartoon at first. Now, it said Doug, a mostly autobiographical creation, was largely inspired by his own childhood growing up in Virginia, a.k.a. in the show it's Bluffington, but it never mentioned the state. But obviously, given this information, it's Virginia. While most characters in the series being based on real individuals, his first pitch was a children's book to uninterested publishers before Nickelodeon purchased the show. That was his saving grace. Now, Doug, if it was a book, would have perhaps came a cartoon too, but it was probably best that it became the cartoon first, okay? Now, the series premiered on Nickelodeon as one of the first original 3 cartoons that Nickelodeon came out with. They also had Rugrats and Ren and Stimpy, which, by the way, we are going to do a show on Rugrats and Ren and Stimpy. I did talk about those in a way earlier episode. I was talking about some of the dark conspiracies behind these cartoons. Now, King, you said if it was a book, it would become a PBS cartoon. You know, it'd be funny if Doug was a PBS cartoon. I think, honestly, it would have lasted a little bit longer. And the reason why I say that is this. Look at Arthur. Arthur lasted all the way to what, 2019? You got to understand, PBS was not cable. PBS was public access. So more kids had more access to it if they didn't have cable. If Doug was on PBS, who knows, it probably would have lasted way longer than it did on Disney, ABC, and Nickelodeon. Perhaps.
Or
right?
the other one,
right.
WB.
The
Or
WB. Oh, it went. Well, the WB didn't even last that long. If Doug was on the WB, that shit would have went with the WB. Because remember, the WB became the CW, and then the CW just I don't know what it is now. But I did a show on the WB.
WB.
There's no WB. Hell
There's
no,
a channel,
WB doesn't have.
Yes, you got to get
Really?
Roku TV to see it. Yep.
Okay, so I think
And
that sounds like
and it's on Paramount.
So that sounds like something that just shows WB movies, like movies, cartoons, TV shows that is produced by Warner Brothers. But no, they used to have an actual TV. Yeah, right. But they used to have an actual TV network where they had like the Wayans brothers, the Jamie Foxx show, the Parenthood. They don't have that TV network no more, but they got the channel, like you said, though. They got the channel.
Yeah.
But the WB, the WB was out of there. I think the last black show on the WB before they switched over was the Steve Harvey Show. Steve Harvey Show, I think, was the very last like African American sitcom on that network before they fucking like pulled the plug. Yes, Jamie Foxx did go to UPN. Did it really? I didn't even know that. I know Jamie Foxx went to
He went to UPN and then he went to BET.
Really?
Now
The
they
last
show it
bit
on
of Jamie
BET.
Foxx? Well, I mean, now they
it
show it in
was on BET.
syndication.
Yeah.
Man, I feel bad. The WB was the shit, man. I swear to God. But anyway, I did a show on the WB a while ago. I might revisit it at some point. And again, there was a total of 117 episodes of Doug. That's between Nickelodeon and Disney. Now, it premiered along with Ren and Stimpy and the Rugrats, right? Now, the original Nickelodeon version had 52 episodes just for Nickelodeon over 4 seasons. And then it was under these different companies. But what happened was, it say here that due to Nickelodeon opting against renewing the show for a 5th season, now, Doug was supposed to have a 5th season. Nickelodeon refused this cartoon. We're about to find out why. King, you said WB was like Dawson's Creek, Reba, and Wayne's Brothers. I think the first.
Yep.
So the
And
WB real quick. Yes, Kids WB. So the WB real quick, it premiered January of 1995, and I think the first show they premiered was the Wayans Brothers. I could be wrong, but it was one of the first shows. They had so many other shows, but a lot of them did fail. They had a show called Cleghorn. They had a show called Simon. They had a show called Muscle. You never heard of these shows because they only lasted no more than a season. The only real successful shows that came out of the WB was the Parenthood, the Wayans Brothers, the Jamie Foxx show, Steve Harvey show. they lasted a lot longer. Um,
Yeah.
so Nickelodeon opted against renewing Doug for a fifth fucking season. So the Walt Disney Company comes out of nowhere. Now Doug was DOA, but somehow Mickey Mouse, oh wow, shows up out of nowhere, picks up Doug, right? And we're thinking like this is the best fucking thing. No, it wasn't the best thing. Now some people like Disney Doug. He looks different. He is literally voiced by a different voice actor. Skeeter's clothes changed. Patty's hair was shorter. It was wrong. It was just wrong. And you know, Doug's friend Connie. Now here's a fun fact.
Yep.
Connie, the Asian, she's obviously Asian, right? And she's actually yellow. Now Connie was a little bit thicker in the Nickelodeon version. Disney slimmed down her character because of body image. You guys probably didn't peep that. They did make some changes to some of the characters, particularly Connie, because they didn't want to present that type of body image. So they slimmed her character down a little bit more. So when Disney picked it up, they also bought Jumbo Pictures. Jumbo Pictures was one of the original producers companies for Doug. So by picking that up, they picked up the IP of Doug, and then they moved it to fucking ABC, which they produced 65 additional episodes with 3 seasons. All right, 3 seasons. Now, it said that the creator made several creative changes during this time. It moved to ABC's Saturday morning lineup, co-produced by Walt Disney Television, and it became one of the top-rated shows during what they used to call ABC's One Saturday Morning, that used to compete with Fox Kids on Saturdays. It competed with the WB, Kids WB. Competed with that too. King, you said like Rogue and X-Men 97, Disney don't like thick Johns. Yeah, when Disney got a hold of certain cartoon IPs, they changed the designs. They were like, this was too much for kids. It wasn't boding with the idea of what kind of images kids will have of themselves. So they made a lot of changes, like Connie. Oh shit, Logan Lee, you said, yo, I heard you like mustard on your hot dog. I'm actually more of a ketchup guy. What's going on, man? The first thing you come on my show, you're talking about glizzes. What's going on, man? I know you like ketchup on your hot dog. Pause. All right. So, yes. Doug now goes on One Saturday Morning. 65 episodes. I've watched the Disney Doug. Now, even the opening theme for both of the shows are different. You know, the ABC version, it goes, doo-doo-doo-doo. And then Disney version had the whole... It had the whole whistling thing, and it was just kind of catchy, but it was all right. And yeah, somebody mentioned the Doug movie. Doug did come out with a movie. I've never seen it. I've never seen Doug's first movie. It says here that it became one of the top-rated shows once it switched over to ABC. It inspired various books, merchandise, a live musical stage show, and a theatrical feature, Doug's first movie, before completely finishing Doug in 1999. That means when they did the live action movie, that means somebody had to paint somebody blue to be Skeeter. Somebody had to paint fucking Roger, somebody to be green like Roger, which is kind of fucking weird, but whatever, right? King, you said that's because ABC, besides Recess, was living off stuff like The Mighty Duck Show and 101 Dalmatians. Yeah, you know, when it came to Saturday morning cartoons, I've watched primarily, I know in the early 90s, I've watched Fox 5 Kids, right? Because they had like Bobby's World and shit like that. Then I switched over to Kids WB because they had like Animaniacs, Freakazoid, Hysteria. They had those cartoons. And then ABC had, you know, Doug and whatever else fucking shit they had. Mighty Ducks, right? So 101 Dalmatians, right? That was all ABC Disney intellectual properties, right? All right, so the premise, again, I'm going to read a little bit of the premise. We all kind of know where Doug is before I get more into the characters of this show. Now, the premise here says that the series revolve around Doug Funnie, an 11, later 12-year-old boy, because believe it or not, when he switched over to ABC Disney, they aged him by 1 year. So they basically moved him up a grade. They aged him by 1 year. Doug, right? Still Doug, but just a little bit older. It said that he later became a 12-year-old boy who wants to be another face in the crowd. So Doug was an outcast. He was an oddie. He was socially inept. He wasn't funny, pun intended. He just wasn't popular. He was one of those kids that just try to find a piece in the puzzle and just try to fit in, right? right? He got his best friend Pork Chop, his dog, because when all else fails and nobody wants to be your friend, you always got your dog on your side. So he's got Pork Chop on his side. Pork Chop kind of is sometimes the voice of reason. Sometimes he think that some of the things that his owner does is not very smart. And if he could talk, he would literally tell Doug that, you know, what you're doing is dumb, but he's a dog. So he just kind of expresses his grief. Now, King, you said, I always thought he was in high school because Roger looked like he was 17. Roger's a super senior. I'm sorry. Roger Klotz, that's his name. If you guys know Roger Klotz, that dude's a super senior. In fact, I don't even think he belongs in that school. I think he literally just walks into the school just to fuck with Doug. Like, I honestly don't think he attends that fucking school. That shit, now that I think about it, Roger Klotz definitely looked a lot older than all the other kids. There's no way you could tell me Roger was 13 years old. That motherfucker snuck on school just to bully people. That's what that tells me. There's no way that man or that kid was a kid. Okay, so that's a good observation, though. Definitely super senior. He said that it says that Doug wants to be a face in the crowd, but he possesses a very vivid imagination, and that's where, King, you were trying to say that he was just a kid with an imagination. He wasn't just a kid that had issues besides just that coming of age issue with fitting in. You know, that's about it. But you know, whatever. He's got an imagination and a strong sense of right and wrong. He is more likely to stand out. He keeps a journal, which he treats almost like an autobiography, which I did. I wrote in the journal when I was around that age, and unfortunately the journal was compromised because of some shit I wrote in it. I got in trouble for it. I stopped writing a journal, and then I started writing a journal a little bit afterwards. So he was the reason why I wrote a journal, and I literally, just like Doug, started every single story every day that I wrote, Dear Journal. Because a journal is basically you talking your inner feeling. It was basically, a journal is Chat GPT before Chat GPT, right? You talk to the journal, but it didn't really like kind of talk to you, but it was something that was inanimate, like Chat GPT, and you just talk to it and you just seal that all in there. It says here that he keeps a journal which he treats almost like an autobiography, as he records numerous experiences over the series, which ranges from learning to dance to getting a bad haircut. Doug Funnie and his family, which consists of his parents Theta and Phil and sister Judy, and dog Pork Chop. Now, King, you said back when we had to write ourselves. You know, there's still people that write journals. I mean, in books, or maybe they, you know, type it in their computer and just kind of save it like a freaking Amazon Kindle book. But to me, my journal is this show. I stopped writing a journal. I think the last journal entry I did was like back in 2022 was my last journal entry, and now the podcast is basically like my journal entry because I can go back and I can listen to all these shows and journal everything that I've done that day and what I've said on an episode and things like that. That's my journaling, right? Okay, so of course he's got family, right? A regular old nuclear family, you know, loving parents, an odd sister, a dog. Okay, your typical American nuclear sort of family. So it says here, they all moved from the town of Bloatsburg, which I didn't know, to Bluffington. I didn't even know he lived in Bloatsburg. And after his dad receives a job promotion, now Bluffington is in the United States, but not specific to any state. This is a common practice that they do with cartoons, okay? And it's just for legal purposes. Because let's just say, for example, if Doug was like based in a real place in Virginia, somebody literally by the name of Doug Funnie or whatever similar can sue and say, hey, they did this based on me. Which is why, just like The Simpsons, you never know what state they're in, because there's like over 10 states with a fucking Springfield in it. You'll never know what it is. But it's kind of like a running gag. They would kind of almost reveal it, and then something would just kind of interject to it. Now, yes, King, odd sister, that woman was dramatic. Well, she was also a up-and-coming, what do you call that, actress, a performer, right? So everything that she did and said was way over the top. It was almost like she was method acting the entire series, all right? You said, like, hey, Arnold, it's New York, but they never say, technically, the creator, Craig Bartlett is the creator of Hey Arnold. he is from Portland. He basically said that the city that Arnold Shortman live in, because yes, that is his last name. It's a funny thing. I'll explain that in a minute. Lives in that city, but it's a combination of all the major metropolis cities in America, but it's loosely based on Portland, where he's from, but it never explicitly say it for legal reasons. Because again, what if there is somebody by the name of Arnold Shortman or Arnold Shortman that lives in Portland and then they get sued for it? Or Homer Simpson that lives in Springfield, Massachusetts, if it was based in Massachusetts. That's why they just never reveal it. So with Arnold, real quick, Arnold Shortman, remember when his grandpa would call him Shortman? And we used to always think that he called him Shortman because he's short. No, his last name is Shortman. His name is Arnold Shortman. His mom and dad's last name is Shortman. But he calls him Shortman, of course, because he's small. He's like 8, 9 years old, right? He's a small dude, but his last name is Shortman. He's literally just calling his grandson by the last name. All right, so, however, Bluffington is loosely based on the city of Richmond, Virginia, where the creator Jim Jenkins was born and raised. Again, this is loosely based on his upcomings. The characters that he created in Doug are basically similar to the people that he encountered when coming up. He dealt with a Roger. He dealt with a Skeeter. He dealt with Pork Chop. He dealt with a Patty Mayonnaise. These are people that he kind of just deal with, right? Now, getting into the characters, right? Now, we're not going to get into all of the characters. We're just going to primarily stick with the main characters, okay? Now, I'm going to read about Doug Funnie. It's not a lot to read, but it's enough to read, okay? Doug Funnie, voiced by Billy West from season 1 to 4. Now, Billy West, okay? Billy West is one of the most prolific voice actors out there. He did the voice of Ren for half of the series. He does a plethora of fucking voices, all right? Billy West, and then switched to Tom McHugh. Now, Tom McHugh is the voice actor for the ABC Doug version from season 5, season 7. Anyway, Doug is depicted as a shy, insecure, self-conscious, and gullible 11, later 12-year-old boy who more often than not tries to deal with his fear of failure. This is why I relate to this dude, because a lot of shit I held myself from doing is simply because of the fear of failure. Everything I've held myself back from doing in this life, even up to this point, is because I was afraid to fail. This is why I relate so much to Doug, because Doug is damn near me, except he's white. Okay, he said that it says that he has talents for writing, drawing, and making music. I don't make music, but I love to draw. Write? Nah, maybe not writing, but I do love to draw. He also plays a banjo and caring for animals. He owns a dog named Pork Chop. Now, while Doug just wants to fit in with his peers, he has a vivid imagination and an unparalleled sense of morality that both make him stand out amongst them. Yes, Doug is very conscious about the actions that he take, and that he know that some of the shit that he do is right and wrong. Like, he takes a minute and he thinks in his mind, his vivid imagination, what can possibly go wrong. He's literally Murphy's Law. If it can go wrong, it will go wrong. That's kind of like where I'm at. Now, you say his imagination makes me think of the kid character from the movie Sidekicks with Chuck Norris. Maybe there might be a relation to it. Now, I've never seen Sidekicks, to be fair, okay? I'm not going to pretend like I have. It's possible. Like I said, Doug, I think, is more loosely based on the Wonder Years. It's very much similar telling of the story, the narration, except in the Wonder Years, it is a adult Kevin Arnold telling the story of his younger self as the younger self plays out in the show. All right. It said that Doug narrates every episode and writes his experiences in his journal, but he also has an alter ego. Now, as a kid, King, let me ask you, did you ever picture yourself having an alter ego? You know, when we're kids, we want to picture ourselves being a better version of what we are, right? A more cooler version. That's what he did. His alter ego was Quail Man, which is the most ridiculous costume I fucking seen. He's got a belt over his head. He's got drawers over his shorts. He's got a shirt or whatever that has a Q on it for Quail Man with a cape. Now, he's a kid. I can't like butcher him too much, right? He's got imagination. Poor taste of costume, but you know what I mean? Who wants to emulate a quail? Like, how many of you ever seen a real quail bird? I haven't. If you've seen a quail bird, they got that little feather thing that sticks over the top of their head, which is why he puts the belt on his head the little thing sticking out because it's supposed to simulate a quail. I've never seen a quail a day in my life in person, but I have seen them on Google. I've seen them on Google. All right, so Quail Man, who was inspired by Jenkins and Robert's childhood home movies in which they posed as superheroes, because he did the same shit as a kid, made movies of him being a fucking superhero. All right, it said Billy West, the original voice behind Doug, was assigned by executive Vanessa Coffey to Jenkins' initial reluctance. He did not want Billy West to be the voice of Doug, but Jenkins would eventually come to view, and it is as the best possible voice for the character. He quoted on saying, West, he said, there's a lot of me in there because I'm going through my own experiences in there because I have a conscience. Doug resonated with a lot of kids and even adults at that time because everybody's always going through something. Everybody's going through an identity crisis. Everybody's trying to fit in. Even today, you'd be surprised how many adults, even at this point with social media and the total disconnect from society because we're so surrounded by devices, relate to Doug. They just don't realize it. Like, everybody is Doug in some way, shape, or form. Everyone is Doug. Now, going to his character, the next character, Pork Chop. Now, Pork Chop is a dog. I mean, it's quite obvious, right? And Pork Chop is a dog, but can be the voice of reason without having a voice. Now, it says Pork Chop is Doug anthropomorphic pet bull terrier. Now, if you notice, Pork Chop can stand on two legs. He's not like a regular dog. This motherfucker walks on two legs. All right, Pork Chop walks on two legs. He is a pet bull terrier. Now, I never knew what his breed was, okay? Because when you animate a particular breed of dog, it's kind of hard to make them look as realistic as possible because they are supposed to be a cartoon version of that dog, right? So, bull terrier. Who is one of Doug's sidekicks and accompanies him nearly everywhere he goes. Now, he sometimes assists Doug in making decisions and acts as his conscience. Now, Pork Chop is very talented in many things such as acting. He lives in an igloo-shaped doghouse in the Nickelodeon series, but in the Disney version, again, another switch, he lives in a teepee. I don't know why. During the Christmas special, it is shown that Doug got Pork Chop as a Christmas gift, and that Pork Chop once saved BB Bluff's life when she was about to fall through some thin ice. Now, Pork Chop, along with Doug, originally first appeared in ID spots for the USA Network Children's blah, 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 blah. So basically, Pork Chop is the voice of reason without having a voice because he is simply a dog, but he could walk on two legs. That's just the way they animated him. Now, this next character, Doug's best friend. Now, Skeeter, right? There's been a lot of talk in the few years about whether or not Skeeter is African American. Well, it turned out that Skeeter is essentially Doug's black friend. But here's the thing. When it comes to the character designs in that cartoon, you know, there is no black and white. They're all different colors. Doug and Patty are probably the most closest, and Connie, well, without being too racial, but they're the closest to their actual skin color. Roger's green. Now, when the last time you saw somebody green? It's not natural. All right, but Skeeter Valentine. Yes, his name is not just Skeeter. His name is Mosquito. Now, I don't know too many people who named their son Mosquito, but this is one of them. Skeeter Valentine. Is Skeeter's, he's a Doug's blue-skinned best friend, Blue. He is a normal boy who's more sociable than Doug, though he occasionally makes honking noises for whatever fucking reason. I don't think it's ever explained why he makes these honking noises. You know, he'll be like, you know, hey, Doug, and you never know why the fuck he's doing these voices. I mean, the honking, right? Maybe it's just like some running gag, or maybe it's just because of the size of his nose. I remember one time somebody called me Skeeter, and I was like, you shut the fuck up. But anyway, so Skeeter and his family have lived in Bluffington for some time, so he helps Doug acclimate to Bluffington. For example, Skeeter helps Doug order food at the popular Bluffington restaurant Honker Burger in the series premiere, which is how they became friends. The character was based on Jenkins' high school best friend, Tommy Roberts. Now, Tommy Roberts does not sound like a black dude. Tommy Roberts sounds like a white dude. But apparently Skeeter, it's been kind of said that Skeeter is loosely or just pretty much African American. But when you look at his dad, don't seem like it. But Skeeter is essentially Doug's unofficial black friend, if you will. Got Skinless Chicken in the house. My other executive producer co-host, Anna and Rio8585, aka Jim Crow, stepped off for a bit, but I'm pretty sure, maybe at some point they'll be back. But Skinless, what's going on? We're talking about the cartoon Doug. We're analyzing, getting deep into, well, not too deep, but we're analyzing, kind of smoothing over Doug, what it's about, how it came to be, and the two different Doug cartoons. Well, happy wake up to you too. All right, so Skeeter, you got Doug, you got Skeeter, you got Porkchop, you got these three characters. Now the love interest comes in. Patty Mayonnaise. People, what a name that was. Now, Patty is this tan color, which almost looked black, blonde-haired girl that he is infatuated with. He is smitten over this girl. He dreams about this girl. He fantasizes about this girl. And everything. You said, I don't know who these people are. We're talking about Doug, which you probably never even seen this cartoon. Now, King, you said that boy saw Patty and was like Wayne seeing Cassandra. He fantasized about this girl all the time. There's only been one girl before my wife. There's been one girl before my wife I sat there and had a Patty Mayonnaise moment over. I swear to God, I'm not even joking. First girl I ever fell in love with. Had a Patty Mayonnaise moment immediately, second grade. No joke. Everybody gets their Patty Mayonnaise once or twice in their life. I'm pretty sure, King, you probably have a Patty Mayonnaise somewhere you were just like fucking smitten over, right? So Patty Mayonnaise. Now, Patty is described as an intelligent, lovely, talented, and athletic girl who is Doug's female best friend and love interest. She is a kind and helpful, but she does have a weakness, such a tendency to be competitive, being gullible, and to anger easily if pushed too far. The creator based the character on his adolescent crush from junior high and high school, and called her name from two girls of his childhood, Pam Mayo and a girl named Patty. So Patty Mayonnaise, in a sense, is named after two girls that he was talking about, Pam Mayo and a girl named Patty. So of course, cleverly putting the names together as Patty Mayonnaise. Now, Skilly said, you're not trying to get my Patty Mayonnaise whatsoever. I wasn't talking about that. What Patty, man? Hey, yo. And King, yeah, we'll be here. I gotcha. We're going to be here for a bit. We're just coming over the characters, and then we'll get a little bit more into the comparison of the Disney and Nick version. All right, now, of course, we got Patty, we got Doug, we got Skeeter, we got Porkchop. Now, remember, it also analyzed the ideology of bullying. So now you gotta get the bullies involved. Now you got Roger M. Klotz. Yeah, Google the cartoon Doug. Look over the characters. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about. I promise you, Skinless, you have seen this cartoon or you have seen these characters at some point in your life. Google them and then get back to me. All right. Roger Klotz. Now, he was voiced by two different people to also include Billy West in the Nickelodeon version. So Billy did the voice of Doug and he did the voice of Roger. All right, so every protagonist need an antagonist. Yeah, I know you've seen that cartoon in some way, shape, or fashion. And Jim Crow, aka Rio, you said, I've only ever heard of Jim Crow good times. Well, those days are over. All right, I don't know what to tell you. Jim Crow's not happening. All right, so Roger Klotz. He is the green character. Now, King made a good observation, okay? Now remember, Doug is about 11 years old in this cartoon. So he's barely in junior high school. When you see Roger is literally, he almost looks like a senior in high school. All right? He looks like he doesn't even belong in that fucking school with Doug. But he's there. All right, so Roger. Roger is Doug's green-skinned nemesis and a school bully. Now, however, he is not prominently shown as an actual bully, but instead have mischievous tendencies, playing practical jokes on characters. He is older than the others in his class, and it took him 3 years to graduate from 6th grade. So it makes all the fucking sense. So basically, if he is a little bit older, if Doug is 11, that would have to make him about 14, 15 years old. But Roger does not look like he's 14, 15. He looks like he's a senior in high school. But nonetheless, Roger is basically like a super senior. Basically. Okay, so the funny thing is Roger has a crush on Doug's sister Judy, and in certain episodes tries to woo her. Now, Roger and his divorced mother lived in a trailer park in the Nickelodeon series, But in the Disney series, Roger's family becomes wealthy from a real estate deal struck between the owner of the trailer park and the Bluff family, who was inspired from a bully who lived in the same neighborhood as Jenkins. He adopted the bully's neighbor last name Klotz for the character. So remember when I said Disney wanted to change certain perceptions of character and stereotypes? So when they switched over to Disney, Roger was no longer living in a trailer park. He was rich now. So now he was kind of like a rich bully. Disney didn't like the idea portraying characters, I guess, in a sense of poverty. So they were like, no, we can't do this. Roger, let's turn him into a success story and make him rich. Now you said Disney or Datney. What are you, like 5? Disney, man. But yeah, they switched this character. Disney made a lot of changes, and a lot of people were not happy with these changes. And then you got characters like BB, who was this like spoiled rich girl that lived in the neighborhood. Then you got Judy, Doug's sister. Now Judy was very dramatic. She was an up-and-coming actress, or kind of something of that nature, right? Judith Anastasia Funnie. As Doug's older sister, she's very intelligent and especially dramatic. Unsurprisingly, she attends the Moody School, a school for artistically talented teenagers. Now, Judy often gives or directs performances at the elementary school, which Doug initially dreads out of fear that Judy will embarrass him. So she wears all black. She got shades, a black beret. No, not that kind of Judy. Funny man. Basically, Doug's older sister. Now, they are complete opposites. But Judy does love Doug, right? She shows love for Judy. Judy shows love for Doug, but in her own way, she knows how. It'd be like that. You have siblings who show their love by just bullying you, picking on you, but they love you. That's just their way of showing it. That's kind of like where Judy is. All right, and then you got Chalky Studebaker, Connie Benj. Now, Connie, I wanted to talk about her real quick. I think Connie is technically supposed to be Asian. If you look at her haircut and you look at the color of her skin and mannerism, I think Connie is supposed to be Asian, and she is kind of like a greenish yellow. Now, again, all these characters are different. They're different colors for a reason. Now, Connie, they had to change her. They changed her in the Disney version as well. It says here that she is, she's described as a naive schoolgirl who is best friends with Patty and BB, and also one of Doug's friends. She had a small crush on Doug in the Nickelodeon series. Although she was rather heavy set in the first series, she lost weight between the two series and received a new wardrobe and hairstyle after going to a beauty camp for the summer, making her look quite different and easier to show. In certain episodes of the first series, the color schemes for Connie's hair and skin are switched, giving her a lime green hair and violet skin instead of indigo hair and pale green skin. Now again, Disney changed her design because they didn't like the idea of Connie being kind of heavy set. So they made her thinner for the Disney series because they didn't want to have this issue of body image. So they had to change some shit around. And then there's Al and Moose Leach. They're the nerdy brothers. Mr. Bud Dink. This character right here, I want to just kind of touch on real quick before we move on, because we kind of just breezed through all the characters. The mother and father, they are pretty much your regular all-day vanilla parents. Mr. Bud Dink. Now, Mr. Dink was Doug's neighbor. Now, Mr. Dink, a funny thing about his name, which I'll mention in a minute, Mr. Dink had no kids. He was married to his wife, which was just annoyed at the idea of him buying all these gadgets, because Mr. Dink had bread. He bought all the latest gadgets, all the new technologies, all the new stereos. He was able to afford everything. And I didn't realize this, but his last name, Dink, D-I-N-K, actually is an acronym for dual income, no kids. I kid you not. That is his name. So it was a play on words with his name, dual income, no kids. And it's because him and his wife work. They make all this money. They got no kids to spend the money on. So all he does is just buy a bunch of bullshit. He buys all the biggest TVs. He buys all this shit because he doesn't have to spend money on kids. So if that should tell you anything, if you don't have any kids, you will save a lot of money. So Mr. Dink, now he is purple, right? Again, everyone is a different color in this show. Mr. Dink is purple. All right, there's reasons, I'm sure. Now, Mr. Dink, it says here that he's a slightly odd, purple-skinned, dim-witted retiree. Again, he has nothing but money, so whatever he retired from made him a lot of money. Who lives next door to the Funnies with his wife and foil, Tippy. It's a dog, I guess. Doug frequently approaches Mr. Dink for advice, but sometimes it is useless. He and his wife's last name comes from the acronym Dual Income No Kids, which supports Mr. Dink's spending on various things he claims as very expensive. Because that's how he talked, right? If you hear Mr. Dink talk, he talks. And when he talks, he's always saying some shit like, well, listen here, Douglas, this new toy is very expensive. Oh, he sounds just like that. So when you hear Mr. Dink, just look him up, Skinless. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. In later Nickelodeon episodes, Mrs. Dink becomes the mayor of Bluffington, a role she continues into the Disney version. So now they even have more money. He doesn't have to work. He's retired. His wife is the mayor of Bluffington. This man has not a care in the fucking world. Now, Skilly, you said, what if Mr. Dink just doesn't pay his child support? He doesn't have any kids. It just literally say he doesn't have any kids. Dual income, no kids. And there are people like my wife right now, me and my wife, we're sort of kind of like dinks, right? Here's the thing. We have a daughter. She's an adult. She lives abroad. Right now, we are dual income with no kids. So we are pretty much the acronym of DINK. Dual income, no kids. Okay, so we're going to skip all the production wahoo when it comes to... I'm not going to read too much into the creator's background into it. Just know that the creator, you know, he based basically this cartoon on his upcoming childhood, basically, right? He dealt with kids and people just like this. Now, he basically wrote this, though. This is a key little thing into the show. Now, he said he characterized the series as not entirely autobiographical because it is, once again, loosely based on his life. He said, although he characterized the series as not entirely autobiographical, but emotionally accurate to his childhood experiences. The show was designed and based on his experiences growing up in Virginia, designing it such to give the viewers, quote, a roller coaster of emotions. Each character in the series was based on people from his life, with, of course, some exaggerations. Again, he didn't have dealt with people that was green, red, blue. Yeah, in other words, he dealt with people of different colors because he lived in Richmond, Virginia, the city. So without depicting color too much, it was his way of saying, yo, I grew up with a variety of different people that look different. So in other words, I have these people I grew up with of all different color, shapes, and sizes. Now, it says here that each character in the series was based on people from his real life with some exaggerations. Now, prior to the show's premiere, he sent messages to each subject of inspiration, notifying them of their inclusion. Jenkins' religious upbringing also made its way into the series, albeit without direct reference. So the inspiration behind the shows basically were like, he reached out to them like, yo, I'm doing this cartoon. You are literally the inspiration. I just want your blessing on it so he doesn't get sued. As Kelly said, does the colors mean anything? Why they're different colors? I think, in theory, it really just came down to just showing the differences of people he grew up with. Because he was born in the 50s, grew up 60s, 70s, right? Given time frame in Virginia, obviously things are segregated. But it just really showed that he did, like, maybe, you know, live with people of different colors. Now, I want to look at the real reason why. Now, that's what I've heard. The reason why he made the characters different colors. Now, I want to look it up myself and Google exactly the reason why he made these characters colors. They do mean something. They just mean that they're different people. Let me see. Why does the characters of Doug have different colors? It says here, let's see. It says the characters in Doug have different non-standard skin colors to break down racial and ethnic barriers. So instead of basically because again, he grew up in Richmond, Virginia in the 50s. So rather than having black characters and white characters, he just decided to make them all different colors. So it was almost like an anomaly. You didn't know who was black. You didn't know who was white. You didn't know who was Asian, but it was telling in some characters, right? Like Connie. Connie was obviously Asian. There's no doubt about it, right? Skeeter, on the other hand, for years, people have theorized that Skeeter was black, and it was kind of hinted that Skeeter might have been black. Now, Mr. Dink is not black. Based on, I believe, Mr. Dink's character, I think Mr. Dink is Jewish. And the reason why I think Mr. Dink is Jewish is because of the way he sounds. His name, not exactly Jewish, but the way he sounds and the way he is with money, but he spends money. I'm not trying to go the wrong way with this, but I think Mr. Dink is Jewish. Now, I'm going to look up exactly what Skeeter is, because remember, there is no race in the cartoon of Doug. It's just people, just represented in different colors. There is no black, white, or red or whatever. But I'm going to look this up. Watch this. I'm going to see what the internet has to say about this. Was Skeeter from Doug African American? Okay, it says yes, he was. Skeeter is actually black. Now, in real life, the creator based Skeeter off a friend by the name of Tommy Roberts, right? Doesn't really say if Tommy Roberts was black or white. The name could be sort of giving, but it says here that yes, according to Doug creator Jim Jenkins, Mosquito Skeeter Valentine, that's his whole name, was intended to be African American. While characters in the series were colored different, non-white shades, Skeeter was blue. Jenkins confirmed in later interviews that Skeeter was designed to be black, often noting that he was based on a childhood best friend. So Tommy Roberts was indeed black. This is Richmond, Virginia, 1950s, 1960s, okay? Pretty segregated in some parts still. His Skeeter is black, right? They just didn't draw him as black. They didn't want to give off those type of racial tones, but I think it was quite obvious for years that people were noticing Skeeter was black. Even at a time, I was like, the Skeeter's got to be black. You know, he's got the sneakers. He played sports a lot. All right, that's also telling. How the fuck am I supposed to know what the 50s was like? I ain't that old, motherfucker. It says here that Jim Jenkins, the creator, noted it was pretty common knowledge that Skeeter was African American, even if it wasn't explicitly stated in the show. Look at the way he fucking dressed. Look at his sneakers. No one was rocking sneakers like Skeeter was rocking sneakers, and he played ball. The dude, Skeeter, was black. I think we knew that the whole time, but the creator came out and said it. Oh shit, check it out. Look who we got in the chat. I don't know if you're ready for this topic. We got Old South Mikey. Yep, that's your fucking name on here. Appreciate the heart. And appreciate the heart too, Ampy. Don't think I forgot about you. Old South Mike. That's your name now. Everybody somewhat gets a nickname on this motherfucker. Your name is Old South Mike. We got Old South Mike, a.k.a. Mikey, in the house. I didn't think you were going to be on the show. And Jim Crow, your name, you are as north as fucking snow. You are definitely, nothing screams south about you in any way, shape, or form. But anyway, yes, we're talking about, Mikey, we're talking about Doug. Now, I know you a young cat on here. I don't know if you know or heard or remember the cartoon Doug. Okay, in fact, when you were born, Doug was already off the air. But I know at some point you might have seen these characters somewhere or heard of the show. It used to be on Nickelodeon. I don't even know if you know what Nickelodeon is, but that's what we're doing the show on is Doug. You said, I know about Doug. I never watched it, though. I recommend you watch it. I don't know. It may not be to your speed. You know, it's, definitely was a big inspirational cartoon to me. Now, Skilly said he was wearing the McAirdonald's 3s. I don't know what the name of Skeeter sneakers were, but obviously they were like Nikes, and he was like the only one in Bluffington that had these fucking sneakers. Now, you said you grew up on Nickelodeon. Okay, so by the time, though, you grew up on Nickelodeon, you know, SpongeBob is still the main cartoon. Jimmy Neutron is already off the air, probably. Probably, yeah. And Ginger Snap, I got my cousin on here. Oh, my God. Hey, lady, good morning to you. I know you're at work or probably heading to work, right? Hey, good morning to you. We're changing gears. We're talking about Doug. Now, come on. I know you watched Doug when you were younger, because let me tell you something, cuz if you've never watched Doug, we're going to talk at the next family reunion. I know you watched Doug. I'm good, though. I'm good. You know, I've been in a pretty happy mood this week. Hasn't been so stressed. Yeah, I've watched Doug. Okay, let me ask you, because there are two versions of Doug, okay? Do you like the Nickelodeon's version of Doug, or do you like the Disney version of Doug? I'm going to get into that before we wrap up the show a little bit. I've already went over the characters, the premise, and the background. No, I can't do the Dougie. Thanks for the question, though. But there's two versions of Doug, all right? And I'm going to tell you right now, Nickelodeon version is way better. Exactly. Nickelodeon all day long. I will say this, I've watched some episodes of the Disney version. I do like the opening theme a little bit. The whole, whistling. That was that compared, but I still, like the Nickelodeon's. That was stuck in my head all day prior to producing this show because I was ready to get into this show so bad. I've been having this topic in my back pocket for months. I just was like, okay, this is the perfect time for it to come out. You said, Mikey, I've never watched a Disney Channel show. Hey, listen, don't get it twisted. In the 90s, the 2000s, they had it on lock. They had That's So Raven, Lizzie McGuire, Zach and Cody. Yo, they had all the fucking shows back on lock. I'm telling you, my cousin, Brianna, watched the hell out of all them damn shows. High School Musical, That's So Raven, all them fucking shows, man, all of them. Hannah Montana was my shit, though. For some reason, I've watched Hannah Montana. I don't give a fuck. Everybody in this chat have seen Hannah Montana at least one time, and if you've never seen Hannah Montana, you are lying. You've seen one episode, I promise you. You might have even wore the t-shirts. I know Skinless had a Hannah Montana t-shirt. I know Mikey had Hannah Montana sheets. Some of you watched, and cuz I know you watched it too, so don't sit there and tell me you've never watched Hannah Montana. That's crazy. There's no way. No way. All right, Mikey, you said, yeah, my friends in school were shocked when they found out I've never watched the Disney Channel. When you were born, around that time age, Disney Channel was at its peak. All them shows that I've named were like top tier peak of the Disney Channel. I don't know what they're showing now, but back between like the early mid 2000s, Disney had it on lock. They were making millions off these fucking IPs. All right, so now not getting too much into too deep into the show, okay, as far as like the back behind the scenes and things like that. Ginger Style, you said I didn't even watch Boy Meets World. I didn't like it. Oh no. You didn't watch Boy Meets World? When it's Boy Meets World. You didn't watch that? Are you crazy? Okay, I'm gonna let you be, all right? You're one of my favorite cousins right now. I'll let that be. Boy Meets World is a shit, all right? I sit there and I watch clips of this shit. Thank you, Savannah Stars, Ampy. You never seen Boy Meets World? Why? Now you got me wanting to do an episode on Boy Meets World because I really want to start getting into analyzing more TV shows, movies, and of course true crime stories. Yes, we're gonna start some true crime stories, and I already have one true crime criminal who's still alive, by the way, that I want to do a show on so fucking bad, and he's gonna actually be one of my first true crime episodes that I'm going to do. You said you watched Martin, Live in Color, and Living Single. Oh, God. The pinnacle of Fox TV. All three shows on Fox was amazing. But Boy Meets World, you crossed the line there. When it's Boy Meets World. No. And yes, Topanga is still my crush. Man, let me tell you. Listen, every black dude in existence who is about my age or a little bit older has had a crush on Topanga Lawrence. I am telling you right now, you be lying. Skillis, what the fuck did you just write? Boy gives meats a word. How long did it take for you to take the title of that show and write that stupid shit? Boy, instead of Boy Meets World, my dude wrote, let me go back up. My dude wrote, Boy Gives Meats a Whirl. That is not the title of the show. By far, that's definitely not the fucking title of the show. Boy Gives Meats a World. But if you say it fast enough, I guess it is saying that. But no, it's a boy that meets the world, all right? He's kind of like Doug Funnie, right? But just not animated, all right? Don't be doing these shows like that, Boy Meets World. Stop fucking with my childhood. Mike, you said, then over at my grandmother's house, she had an antenna TV, so when we went over there, we watched Cubo. Damn, I haven't heard of Cubo in years. Does that shit still exist? Holy shit. Cubo is crazy. Oh. Alright, anyway, not to get too deep into the background. I didn't want to get too deep into the production of the show. We're already 1 hour over. I guess now we could kind of just touch on the the differences. Let me see if there's other little tidbits and facts. We went over the characters. We went over the background. The music, we kind of already know the music. Now, let's get into the Disney versus Nickelodeon. Now, this is where shit really changed, all right? Nickelodeon didn't want to pick up Doug for a 5th season, okay? It already produced over 50 episodes, 4 seasons. Nickelodeon was done with it, right? And that would have maybe spelled the end of Doug. But until Disney came along, ABC needed to build up their cartoon Saturday mornings, because back in the day, networks competed for kids to watch TV. Yes, believe it or not, people, there was once upon a time where kids actually got up on Saturday morning to watch cartoons. That shit ain't happening no more. But all these networks had cartoons, even PBS Kids, all competing for cereal eating kids to watch TV. So ABC, who's had Saturday morning cartoons for a while, acquired Doug. Okay, Nickelodeon was done with Doug. So this is where shit gets a little weird, and a lot of Doug fans contribute this move to ultimately finishing Doug. They even came out with a movie, Doug's first movie. I don't even remember it because I never seen it, but I don't hear anybody talking about it, which means it's probably not good. All right, so Disney acquisition. This is where the nail starts to get banged into the coffin. The original deal required Jumbo, which was the original production company back with Nickelodeon. The original deal was to produce 65 episodes of Doug, which Nickelodeon would air in blocks of 13 per season. 13 to 20 episodes is a standard block of episodes per season for a TV show. After 4 seasons and 52 episodes of Doug, Nickelodeon declined to order the additional 13, citing that the show's expensive budget during a budget freeze. Now, Doug, when you look at the animation, don't even seem like an expensive show. But again, Nickelodeon was still a fresh cartoon. SpongeBob was not around yet, okay? There was no SpongeBob. It wouldn't be until another 3 or so years before SpongeBob even premiered on Nickelodeon, okay? The network had a 2-year window in which it could reverse the decision. The show received strong interest from several networks. Among them was ABC. Now, at the time, ABC was acquired by Disney and still is. So, of course, this is Disney trying to snatch up a Nickelodeon IP. Now, Mikey, you said, I don't think SpongeBob will ever end. It's crazy. It doesn't even have to, because even after the voice actors are long gone, they can really just finish with AI. You can produce so much SpongeBob episodes just using AI that even after the voice actors are gone, you don't even need voice actors. You can literally do a show with AI, which is scary. Non-binary Bob. You got me on that one. All right, so now ABC is interested in taking Doug for a spin. Each time they receive interest, they would notify Nickelodeon in order to speed up ordering the series' 5th season. Now, in February of 1996, the Walt Disney Company, having closed on its purchase of ABC earlier that year, they purchased Doug in the multi-million-dollar deal. So when Disney purchased ABC, they purchased Doug with it too. Ginger Snap, you said, I love me some SpongeBob. Listen, I've done a show on SpongeBob, right? I think SpongeBob is one of the most adult cartoons out there. I don't think that shit was ever meant for kids. They literally had an episode called, where they're raiding panties out of a drawer. Like, that episode is banned, right, from streaming services just because of the idea of a panty raid. Yeah, look it up. It's actually true. So they purchased Doug in a multi-million-dollar deal with Jenkins and Campbell for Nickelodeon's parent company, MTV Network. So the deal involved buying Jumbo Pictures and, quote, signing them to 5-year contracts, which means by acquiring Jumbo, they basically acquired Doug. Oh, I know you remember that episode. There's a few of them. In fact, remember the episode where SpongeBob caught the bubbles? They actually banned that episode for a bit because of COVID, because of the idea of SpongeBob getting sick in that manner during the time of the pandemic. They had to shelve that episode for a bit, which is crazy because I had the bubbles and there was nothing I could do about it. I got sick. All right, so God, that voice is stuck with me. Skillers, what the fuck are you asking me now? How many times you've gooned to that episode with the bloomers? 0. Who the fuck? What are you doing with my bloomers? Yeah, that was the funniest shit I've seen in that episode when they got caught and Eugene was like, Mommy! I'm telling you, that was one of the funniest episodes they ever produced. All right, so ABC buys Doug. Now, you know, there was going to be some changes ABC was going to make to Doug. Because when they purchased Doug, they could do whatever they want with the cartoon. So that's exactly what they did. They started making changes to the production of the show, how it was produced, how the stories were told, even down to the characters started to change, even making slight changes to Doug's appearance. All right, so due to the length of time between the series to run on Nickelodeon, there were several creative changes that were made to Doug itself. It said that the production of the series relocated from New York to LA, meaning that the voice actors recorded their lines remotely. Which, if you notice, when they do the voice sessions for SpongeBob, they don't just do this all in one theater. The voice actors can do this from home. That's right. Even The Simpsons, the voice actors don't all come together. They record their lines, send it to the production studio, they dub it, do everything they need to do, and that's that. All right. So they replaced the original voice actor for Doug and Roger, Billy West, with somebody else. Yeah, and so they made these little changes and things like that. And then the creator, Jim Jenkins, was less involved in this one, which is, basically Disney had free creative control to do what they want with the show. And with him not really being in the show, it just made it awkward. So, for example, it said Jim was less hands-on in regarding the production of the show, Disney episode, due to other responsibilities. He quoted on saying that I mostly agree with Doug fans who think that the original 104 11-minute Doug stories made for Nick was the best. He also later stated that the co-creator David Campbell felt the Nickelodeon episodes were quirkier and better, while the voice actress for Patty Mayonnaise, Constance Shulman, said that felt voice recording sessions were not the same in the show's newer incarceration. Quote on saying, I miss all the gang crammed into the studio waiting for their turn for the big group scenes. Someone just dimmed the magic a little bit. Because now, instead of being in the studio, Disney allowed them to just record from home. They no longer had to be in the studio. So that dynamic, there's something magical when all of the voice actors are all in one room. When you take that magic away, it becomes like this soulless recording. It's almost like you're just sitting there talking into a mic, into yourself, and then it's like, that method acting of talking to the others are just, Now, Skimless, you asked me the question about Sandy Cheeks. Why do they call her Sandy Cheeks? Now, I think the cheeks part is because she's a squirrel. Not because she got the cake. It's because squirrels stuff things in their mouth, like chipmunks. They stuff like walnuts or whatever in their cheeks, which gives her that face of cheeks. Now, if we want to really look up why they call her Sandy Cheeks, let's look it up. This is just my theory. Now, I could be wrong, I could be right, but I want to see what the good old internet say about the name Sandy Cheeks. But I'm pretty sure it has to do with the idea of her being able to stuff in her cheeks. Now, I'm going to look it up real quick. Let me see. Why is Sandy's name Sandy Cheeks? Let's see what it says. It says here that, it says Sandy Cheeks' name is a pun based on her being a land squirrel living on the ocean floor, combined with her physical features. Sandy highlights her life on land as in a beach sand, while Cheeks refer to her status as a squirrel. Her full name is Sandra Sandy Jennifer Cheeks. There's your answer right there. What the fuck is stuff in her cheeks? Hey, yo. So, Sandy, because, again, she's a land squirrel, so living in the sand, on sand, and Cheeks, it's just because she's a squirrel. That's it. Again, squirrels stuff shit in their mouth and their face get all, so there's the cheeks. I mean, unless you're thinking because she got cake. I don't know what the fuck Sandy got under that shit. She's a goddamn squirrel. It's a squirrel, man. All right, so here's another little factoid, I think. Another factor in Doug going to Disney might have been Nickelodeon's high expectations for the series not being met. Something that has been acknowledged by the creator as well. Among Nickelodeon's 3 original Nick cartoons, now again, when Nickelodeon started, it was Doug, Rugrats, Ren and Stimpy, all right? I think out of those 3 cartoons, Rugrats had the best run. Obviously, Ren and Stimpy was canceled on Nickelodeon. Doug went to ABC. Rugrats was the only one that thugged it out all the way into the 2000s when Rugrats All Grown Up, which was kind of weird. watching that. But out of the 3 original cartoons, that's the one that was the most successful, was Rugrats. Skilly said, Rugrats movie is streaming on Prime, by the way, if you're interested. Oh man, I love the Rugrats movie, but I like Rugrats in Paris a little bit more. I kind of dig the soundtrack to that particular one, but that's something to note because I do have Prime. I'm definitely going to check that out. Okay, so among Nickelodeon's 3 original cartoons, executives were banking on Doug to be the network's breakout hit. So here we got the guys at Nickelodeon that's like, okay, we got these 3 cartoons. We got Doug, we got Ren and Stimpy, and we got Rugrats. They were betting on Doug to be the best one, and it turned out that Rugrats was the best one. Who doesn't like talking babies, man? Who doesn't like the idea of talking babies with this wild imagination where most times they go out completely unsupervised, doing shit they ain't supposed to be doing? That was the most popular cartoon. Rugrats. Thugrats. Yeah. Skilly said the Paris one is also on there. Yeah, that's the one I like. That's the one I'm probably going to check out too. Now, Mikey said, not technically illegal, but everything that comes out, I watch for free. That's you and everybody else, man. 3 letters. VPN. All right, so it turned out that Doug was popular, but it was the least popular of the Nickelodeon cartoons. So, of course, with that, they were like, yo, hey, we're on the budget freeze. Let's get rid of Doug. Doug ain't making money. Let's keep Rugrats. They kept Rugrats, but they got rid of Doug. You said don't even need a VPN. Oh, don't explain it on here because you ain't getting me in trouble. All right, so now here's the last thing that was heard from the creator of the cartoon. Well, actually, let me read this part real quick. It was Doug was turned out to be Nickelodeon's least popular original cartoon, as Ren and Stimpy, along with Simpsons and Beavis and Butthead, helped revive interest in adult animation genre that has been largely dormant since the Flintstones. Yes, people, the Flintstones was an adult cartoon. In fact, if you watch the Flintstones back in the day when it first premiered, they had the characters smoking cigarettes. Flintstones used to do ads for cigarette companies because the cartoon was aimed for adults, not children. You said, nah, it's a sight. Now, Skilly said he runs a cable from the neighbor's house. You know, people used to do that. They used to also have cable boxes called a hot box. Illegal. But the last thing that was heard about Jenkins, Jim Jenkins, the creator, in 2023, Jenkins revealed a concept art he had drawn for a potential revival titled Doug's Kids that would focus on the children of Doug and his friends. However, the idea was passed over by Disney executives, which is telling that Doug will never come out again. Now, I remember I've seen some concept art of this. Honestly, the idea is really cute. You know, Doug and Patty finally get together. They have these kids. But then it would be like a revival of Doug, but instead of Doug, it's basically Doug's kids. I think something like that would probably last no more than about a season or 2. Had they came up with that idea a little bit earlier, maybe. Like, you know, Rugrats all grown up. That was actually successful for a bit, but it never was as successful as the kid version when they were kids, babies. Like you say, you need an episode on Cat Dog. I don't like that cartoon. You know, believe it or not, I never was really into Cat Dog. I really wasn't. I think when it came down to Nickelodeon, it was Doug and Rugrats and Ren and Stimpy. There will be a Ren and Stimpy episode coming up, though. In fact, that might be the next one. I have been wanting to do an episode on Ren and Stimpy for so goddamn long. I have not done it. Okay, but I think as we're now getting into a phase of analyzing TV shows as ideas for a show, and again, people, if you guys have an idea of a show that you want to analyze a little bit more, or a movie, a cartoon, whatever, because I'm also going to do some true crime stories. Again, I already got the first true crime story and this one individual who was famous in New York, or rather infamous. I'm not going to reveal that until that time come, because his episode is going to come up this summer, and there's a reason why I am waiting to the summer to do this episode. It could even be sooner. All right, I'm not going to tell you who it is, but just know that this dude had New York City shook back in the day. That's all I'm giving you. But I will be doing an episode on this individual maybe in the summer or sometime sooner. Okay, so what are some of the differences that were made between Disney's Doug and Nickelodeon's Doug? Well, there is a little bit of sight into it, okay? Now it says here that Nickelodeon's Doug from 1991 to 1994 is generally preferred for its grounded, cozy, and relatable storybook feel of childhood, while the Disney Doug from 1996 to 1999 is often criticized for changing character designs, making Roger rich, and adopting a more frantic, produced, and brightly colored style that lost the original heart. And again, people were mad that Roger got rich, because not only do you have a bully, but now you have a rich bully at the same time, because in the original version, again, Roger lived in a trailer park. Disney took that and put him in a rich home. People didn't like that. They liked the idea that Roger was kind of this bully, because it was kind of like expressing an anger for living with a single mother in a trailer park, because that was his status in the original Nickelodeon version. But when they changed them into this grandiose success story, people were just not feeling it. It just felt superficial. You know, it felt rushed. Okay, so key differences. Yeah, a win for the rich bully. Yeah, I guess so. But a lot of people, when they did that for Roger, didn't like it. Now, some of the key differences and comparisons of the Disney Doug and the Nickelodeon Doug, before we start winding this down. Now, one key difference was the vibe and the tone. Now, Mikey said, dang, I need to watch this show. They got single moms in trailer parks. You know, it's funny. I don't even think you see Roger's mom in the show. I don't recall ever seeing her. She's mentioned, but you never really... Well, maybe you have seen it. Again, I have not seen every single episode of Doug. I'll be honest with you. I've watched it, but I don't think I've seen all of the original Nickelodeon shows. So the vibe and tone, it said the Nickelodeon version, Doug focused on awkward childhood moments, subtle humor, and imagination, but the Disney Doug was considered more of a standard, sometimes, quote, cringe cartoon with brand spanking new branding. Yeah, when they came out with the Disney Doug, they called it the brand spanking new Doug. But there was really not much brand spanking new. It had the same characters. There were just some minor tweaks and changes to the music, the characters, but it wasn't like something that was groundbreaking or brand spanking new. But it was a way to attract all the Nickelodeon fans to this brand spanking new Doug. Like, hey, come over to ABC. We have your favorite cartoon, and it's brand spanking new. It wasn't brand spanking new. It was the same shit, but it changed a bit. Yes, brand spanking does sound sus. All right, so another bit, and this is perhaps one of the most noticeable changes. The animation and art style. Now, the Nickelodeon Doug was a little bit more grainy, a little bit more drab. The Disney version was a lot more vibrant, a lot more bright. You think that's better, but it's not better because it changed the tone and aesthetic of the original Nickelodeon. Now, I say here that the Disney version, produced by Jumbo Pictures, featured brighter digital coloring, whereas the Nickelodeon version had a softer storybook illustration. Kind of like Curious George. If you've ever read a Curious George book, you see the art style. That's what the original Doug was like. It was more comforting. The newer digital color ABC Doug was just, it seemed a little bit too fast paced. The character changes. This is another noticeable one. Now, Doug's character himself really didn't change very much as far as look. His skin tone changed a little bit. Now, Mikey said, Curious George ball knowledge. What the hell does that mean? Curious George ball knowledge? What the fuck is that? Anyway, Disney altered characters included making Roger wealthy, changing his bully dynamic. He was no longer a bully because he was rich. Whereas the Nickelodeon version, where giving Skeeter a growth spurt, so somehow Skeeter got taller, and altering Patty Mayonnaise look. So Patty used to have longer hair, now she has shorter cut hair. For whatever reason, I don't know. Oh, it's like ball knowledge is like ball. Ah, well, I don't know much about Curious George. I know a bit. That used to be like my favorite book growing up was Curious George. No, George was not curious about balls. All right, so the music, of course, the intro to the cartoons were different too. The Nickelodeon Doug was more like and then it made like these funny sounds. But the Disney Doug was whistling the intro with a little bit of rock added into it, but it was like, and it was just different. I like the intro for the Nickelodeon Doug a lot better. Now, Mikey said, Wildcrats, my favorite PBS kids show. Never seen it. I tell you, the one PBS show I've watched definitely was Arthur. Arthur needs a show. We need to do a show on Arthur because that was one of PBS longest running cartoons. I think it ended like, what, 2019, 2020? Oh, you say your daughter likes that show, Skinless. Wildcrats. Never heard of it. I may have got to give it a look-see or whatever. Voice acting, yes. Doug and Roger's voice actor, which was Billy West, was changed for this version for whatever reason. So, and again, the Disney one did run a little bit longer. It ran for 65 episodes to include a live-action movie, to where the Nickelodeon version ran for 52. But we need to do a show on Arthur. I think, like I said, we need to start doing some shows also to add more variety to better analyze some of our favorite cartoons, right? I even want to do a show on Saved by the Bell, you know, inspired by the short Zach Morris's Trash. But that will be, like I said, I got a lot of ideas happening up here for shows to add more variety and shit. We'll see how that works out in due time. But again, the legacy of Doug, it says, despite the backlash, Disney's Doug ran for 65 episodes, whereas the Nickelodeon, 52. And they produced Doug's first movie. Fans often argue that the Nickelodeon version is perfect, but the Disney version is still serviceable, just fundamentally different. Yeah, they are literally two different cartoons.
No, I'm perfect.
You're not a cartoon either.
I'm a cartoon.
You said, I liked Wild Croats. Wild Croats? That's a show? That's a cartoon? Anyway, Disney's Doug and Nickelodeon Doug are literally two different cartoons. I don't care what anybody say. They're not the same, in a sense, right? They're the same. They got the same characters. They still take place in Bluffington, but they don't feel the same, which is, to me, they're like two different Dougs. In fact, there's a YouTube video that tells in detail, actually, you know, the difference between the both Dougs. If you go type of Jordan Fringe, it was a video he posted on YouTube on February 10th, 2022, and how Doug ultimately changed. Now, this happens with a few cartoons and stuff, right? They switch to different networks, they get different production companies, and they change. For example, the Boondocks, right? The Boondocks, nobody realized the first season of the Boondocks was created by a Japanese anime company called Madhouse. Now, Madhouse was extremely expensive. Then, in later seasons of the Boondocks, they switched to a Korean animation company to save money on production, because the Boondocks was a very expensive fucking show to produce. You have no idea. The first season alone was a whole budget. You're paying the Japanese to animate this, even though people don't think that the Boondocks is an anime. It kind of is an anime. I mean, the first season, at least, was animated by a Japanese company, Madhouse. So technically it is an anime. I don't know, Korean's animation? After a while you did tell the difference though. But I did do an episode on the Boondocks, but I think that will be a show that is going to be revisited, because when I did the Boondocks show, it was before TikTok. So we will probably go and revisit the Boondocks in a later bonus show. All right, but not right now. But before we wrap this show up, when it really comes down to it, with Doug, the Disney Doug is not really bad. They did make some unnecessary changes, yes, but ultimately it's still Doug, right? But the Nickelodeon Doug was a lot more rooted. It was a little bit more realistic. It related a lot more to people, including myself, because I saw somewhat myself in Doug, right? In terms of his imagination and his ability to write and draw and things of that nature. I was literally Doug. He inspired me to write a journal back in the day, believe it or not. The Disney Doug, it's there, but it will never be the Nickelodeon Doug. Now, Skinless, you said that's why DW got knocked out for touching the rocket ship. That was actually one of the most violent things on Arthur I've ever seen. It didn't show her actually getting hit, but the implication, you seen it. It was like she gets hit and like, ah. But no, we will do a show. Hey, yo, no. Or was he dugging in you? No, stop being a weirdo. You get what I'm saying. But we will do a show on Arthur. I think, you know what? You guys are giving me ideas to start doing some analyzation shows as we dig a little bit deep into these shows, the psychology behind Arthur. Because Arthur was basically anthropomorphic anteater. Because yes, if you don't know what Arthur was as an animal, he's an anteater. That is what Arthur is. If you've seen the original drawing and design of Arthur, he looked more like an anteater before than he did now. You know, in the cartoon, they made him look more human. But, you know, in the old books and design, he looked very much more like an anteater. Mikey said, every day when you're walking down the street, doing what? Walking down the street, doing what? What are you trying to get at? You said, Skillers, how did he wear glasses? How he wear headphones? Yeah, that was such a weird animation add to it because his ears are like all the way up here, but his headphones is right here. I guess they could. It would just probably look silly to the animators if they put the headphones way up here. But it would make more sense. But to make him more anthropomorphic and more human, they just put it right here. I don't think... It was just to kind of give Arthur more of a human characteristic. That's probably why they just put his headphones there and then put it all the way on his fucking ear where it belongs, you know? It says, you don't know the theme. Oh, the Arthur theme. Okay, as soon as you said that, I think it started just playing in my head. Oh, wonderful kind of day. That shit used to play in my head. Y'all laugh. But that was a really catchy opening for fucking cartoonist Arthur. It's one of those themes that you just don't quite forget. Okay. All right, folks. Before we wrap up this show, I think we done enough of this show and analyzed Doug quite a bit. Okay. Mikey, if you've never seen Doug, I highly recommend you watch it. I don't know where it's streaming. You can probably see clips on YouTube or wherever they're streaming Doug. Actually, I'll look it up for you right now, real quick before we wrap up this show. And I gotta start the post-production. You said you got it on your site. Oh, I forgot. You got the Almighty One site. And for those who don't have what Mikey have, he's got that CIA NSA streaming service. If you want to know where Doug is streaming, I'm gonna find out right now for you. What platforms is Doug streaming on? It says here that he is streaming on Disney Plus, of course, because he's Disney. Yeah, Disney Plus. So if you want to watch all the Doug episodes, actually no. Oh yeah, it's got all of them. It's got all of them. You can watch Doug's. But they only have the Disney Doug. They don't have the Nickelodeon Doug, and they have Doug's first movie. Which, by the way, let me look this up real quick because I've never seen this movie. I swear to God, I have no idea. And we're at 4.1K. We're a little bit light today, but it's fine. I never really strive every day to get like 100,000 likes. We get likes, we get likes. Let me find out Doug's first movie because now I'm curious. Because I've never seen this movie, and it came out in '99, about the time that the cartoon ended. Now, Skillers, you said, I've watched that Jungle Fever movie starring Millie Stallion and Diamond Jackson. Who the fuck? Yo, you watched the wrong movie. What the fuck? That is not the right movie. Those aren't even the fucking people in the movie. You must have watched something completely different. That was not it. I think you need to watch the Wesley Snipes version. I think you need to watch that one. All right, anyway, this guy's crazy. Doug's first movie, all right? Real quick, I'm going to just go over Doug's first movie because it's one of those things that's just, well, not quite talked about. Thomas, what's going on, man? Welcome back to the show. We're about to hit the end of it, though, but we're going to go over Doug's first movie real quick. We've already went through the history. We've already been through the characters. We've already did the comparisons to the Disney Doug versus the Nickelodeon Doug. Now, Thomas, I didn't ask you. I know your wife said that she likes the Nickelodeon Doug. Now, have you seen Doug before, right? If you did, which version of Doug you like? Do you like the Nickelodeon Doug, or do you like the Disney version of Doug? Me and your wife agreed that the Nickelodeon Doug was way better. Now, Skinless, you said it was the director's cut of Jungle Fever. No, the fuck it wasn't. I don't know what Jungle Fever you watched, but that is the wrong one. Definitely the wrong one. All right, so real quick, Doug's first movie. I don't know what possessed him to come out with this. Now, Thomas, you said, I didn't even know Disney made a Doug. That's the best thing I've heard all night. It never happened. Don't even... If you watch Disney's Doug, you need to watch Nickelodeon Doug, because Disney Doug is literally a different cartoon. It is not exactly the same. The tone, the design, everything is totally different. See, my cousin gets it. Tulio, what's going on? You said Doug and Penny on Nickelodeon. Doug and Penny? Who the hell is Penny? Yeah, yes, people, Tulio, we're talking about the cartoon Doug. Yes, look it up. There is a Disney version. 52 episodes was done on Nickelodeon and over 60 episodes were done on Disney. In fact, you can even look up the video on YouTube that details the difference between both Dougs. Yes, they are two different cartoons. And yes, Disney ruined Doug. Even though I've watched some of the Disney episodes, it was not the same. I am telling you, the tone, everything was off. Disney made unnecessary changes to the characters. Didn't need to change them, but that's Disney. Disney, anything that they, for the most part, touch turns to shit, and that's exactly what happened. Oh, the girl that was with him. Oh, that's Patty Mayonnaise, not Penny. Patty Mayonnaise is the girl that he like. Oh, how I love Patty Mayonnaise. That was the girl he fantasized over. You know, it was Patty. You said, Skillers, Disney ruined my life, but that knee works just fine. You know, I'm gonna leave that one alone. I'm gonna leave that one alone. But motherfucker. Anyway. Anyway, yeah, Tulio, what's going on, man? Yeah, we were talking about Doug. We went over the history of the cartoon. It was one of the first Nickelodeon cartoons when Nickelodeon went hot, because the first three was Doug, Ren and Stimpy, and Rugrats were the first three cartoons to officially premiere on today's Nickelodeon. And we talked about Doug, but there will be an episode on Ren and Stimpy coming up soon. There'll be an episode. I'm going to do a show on Hey Arnold. Hey Arnold has to be by far one of my favorite Nickelodeon cartoons. Hey Arnold is, I mean, like, if you're a city kid like me, Hey Arnold is very relatable. Hey Arnold just had that nice city vibe, and everybody wanted a room just like Arnold. And you'd be lying if you saw one time Arnold's room with the skylight, the little lights and shit. He had the best looking room in the entire show. And if you be lying if you didn't want a room like Arnold's. You said Ren and Stimpy was full of subliminals. Tulio, Ren and Stimpy was a whole adult show. Now, not getting too much into Ren and Stimpy, but the guy who created Ren and Stimpy, John Kriflowski, I think that's how you, Kriflowski, whatever his name is, he had a very weird vision for this cartoon that Nickelodeon was caught off guard with. The reason, again, Nickelodeon canceled Ren and Stimpy because the creator was very late in premiering episodes, but also the complaints that parents got, that Nickelodeon got from parents about the cartoon. Mikey, you said you've never seen or heard of Ren and Stimpy. My brother in Christ, I recommend you watch it. Watch the Nickelodeon one, not the Spike TV one. Watch the Nickelodeon Ren and Stimpy. And then get back to me. Now, Thomas, you said, Mikey, oh, you're talking to Mikey on that one. Gotcha. I'll let you guys converse on that one. But yes, Ren and Stimpy really caught Nickelodeon off guard. But you got to understand one thing. Ren and Stimpy was one of the first cartoons for Nickelodeon, so they were desperate to get some sort of content on that network, even though they were banking on Doug to be their breakout hit. But out of Ren and Stimpy, Doug, and Rugrats was the breakout hit. It wasn't Doug, and it wasn't Ren and Stimpy. Ren and Stimpy was just a little too weird for Nickelodeon. Really caught them off guard, but it did gain a cult following. Now, Skilly said, you ever goon so much stuff your stuff turns Ren and Stimpy. You need help. If that's what it looks like after those type of sessions, you're doing it too much. Your shit probably don't even work no more. You're out of gas, man. You need help. Get some help. Please. For the sake of the show. We need you on the show. We don't need you losing your shit. Talking about your shit is Ren and Stimpy. Get some help. Anyway, look. Yo, whose kid is this? Anyway, look. We're going to plan some episodes where we're going to be like, we're going to do some analytics on particular cartoons. You guys give me a cartoon you guys want me to do an episode on, or a TV show. I know Ren and Stimpy. I got Hey Arnold. And I want to go over dark conspiracy theories of cartoons once again, but in the form of a bonus show. I definitely want to do that. Oh, yeah, you see? You get it. Stop it. Get help. That's where I'm at right now. That's the first thing I thought about when he's talking about he is overgooning his shit. I was like, you probably need to just stop it. You know, there comes a point where you gotta stop. It's no longer fun. Eventually, you really do stop. It's no longer fun, okay? For some people, they can do that a lifetime, but for others, it's kind of like, get some help. Stop. Just put it down. Yeah, exactly. Just put it down. Leave it alone. It had enough. Let it heal. Like you said, I never watched Star Wars, but I know the characters just like Pokemon. I mean, yeah, even if you're not a Star Wars fan, you know who Darth Vader is. You know who Luke Skywalker is. You know who Yoda is. You know who Boba Fett is. You know Jabba the Hutt, Princess Leia, Lando Calrissian. You know all these characters. No, you probably don't. But anyway, Skillers, you said, no, they lied. They made it up. Michael Jackson. Stop it. Cut it out. You're ignorant. You're so ignorant. All right, but real quick, let me go to Doug's first movie. I forgot I even had this shit pulled up. This is about Doug, not gooning to Ren and Stimpy. Mikey, you said you only know Darth Vader, Skywalker, and Yoda. And Tommy said Avatar is Pocahontas. Yes, literally Avatar is cowboys and Indians in space. That was the first thing I noticed. It's literally Pocahontas. And you know what? Don't get it twisted about the Disney Pocahontas. If you know the real story of the real Pocahontas, it's not what Disney predicted. Pocahontas was a child in real life. If you know, you know. All right, so real quick, Douglas has his first movie, Doug's first movie. All right, now this came out on March 26, 1999, and on a $5 million budget, Doug's first movie only made 19.4. So that it made its budget, but it wasn't successful. You know what I mean? It wasn't the breakout thing it needed to be. But after that, no more Doug films were featured. Maybe this would have been Doug's saving grace towards the end of the Disney Doug. Maybe this was their calling card to let Doug go. But if Doug was successful, the movie, perhaps we would have seen more Doug. But I think even Disney kind of figured out that after the movie didn't make as much money, they probably just figured it was done, you know? But then again, we started slowly seeing the end of 2D animation movies. Doug was just too late in the scene of animated movies. Had Doug came out a little bit earlier, it'd be different. But now we were starting to get into the age of 3D animated movies. Therefore, Doug was just too late. All right, so the plot of the movie, which is weird, it says it follows Doug, Skeeter, as they try to save a friendly monster found in Lucky Duck Lake. Doug tries to juggle his romance with Patty Mayonnaise and competition from another guy that tried to get inside Patty Mayonnaise pants. This is literally the story about saving a monster? I forget Doug has a very vivid imagination. This is not it. Okay, this movie, this should have never been made. The premise alone, I would not watch this movie. Especially because it's a Disney produced Doug, so I'm definitely not going to watch it. Now, Skilly said, now Skeeter, he ain't bothering nobody. Oh, by the way, people, Skeeter is black. Yes, it was confirmed. And we've been doing this for years. Because Skeeter's black, all right? He may be blue in the show, but he's black. He's black, all right? Skeeter Valentine, his full name is Mosquito Skeeter Valentine, is black. Skeeter's black, yo. All right, look, check it out. Before we wrap it up, we went over the movie. Let's recap. Let's review. We went over the movie, right? Not a great movie. We went over the premise. We went over the creator. We went over the inspiration. We went over the characters. We went over quite a bit, okay? And please, give me some ideas of some cartoons or just ideas for the show. Skinless, I know you and I work behind the scenes.
What about He-Man?
You want me to do a show on He-Man?
Skeletor.
I'm not even a big He-Man fan. Hey, don't crucify me, all right? I'm not a big He-Man fan. I grew up with it, yeah.
What about Thunder?
Okay, we could do a show on Thundercats. But not a lot of people know what the fuck Thundercats is. Do you see my average audience? Well, my average audience is around my age, so maybe they might know something about Thundercats, but I wasn't really a big Thundercats fan. I may be an 80s baby. You said Street Sharks. Oh, I remember Street Sharks. I've watched it a little bit. That was your favorite cartoon back in the day? I mean, if it was, it was. Maybe Street Sharks. I remember like Samurai Pizza Cats, SWAT Cats, Sailor Moon. We need to really do Pinky and the Brain. I think Pinky and the Brain. What the fuck? We're not doing a show on a show. We're not doing a show on a show called Mud Sharks. Fucking Christ. Pinky and the Brain. This motherfucker drives me crazy. Not only does he have the name Jim Crow, this man is talking about Mud Sharks. Lord help me. Anyway, yo. I think Pinky and the Brain makes for great study. Because you know what? Somebody said it. They said between Pinky and Brain, Pinky was actually the smarter mouse.
Oh.
What you got, hon?
The snorks.
The Snorks?
Yeah.
There's not much to study. It's about these creatures living in the sea.
But that was a cool cartoon.
It was a cool cartoon with a very catchy theme song. Come along with the Snorks. Yeah, but nobody wants to do a fucking show on the Snorks. But Pinky and the Brain, okay, it has been theorized that Pinky was smarter than Brain because Pinky knew that all of Brain's dumb ideas would not work.
Your cousin even likes it.
Okay, well, yeah, well, I know my cousin likes the Snorks. Wait, do you like the Snorks for real?
The snorks was the bomb diggity.
And we're not doing a show on Jabberjaw. Somebody's gonna get the wrong idea about that title, I promise you. But Jabberjaw is crazy. Oh, that's going way back. Jabberjaw. Sounds like somebody that hangs out behind Arby's at 2 a.m. Jabberjaw. $40. Anyway, yo. So, again, Pinky and the Brain is a show that needs to be talked about because Pinky is definitely... Yo, no, Tommy, no. You don't. Yo, your wife... I'm pretty sure when we go off the air, when this on air light go off, your lights is going off too after what you just put. When she sees that shit, man, Arby's, he has the meats. Jabberjaw behind the Arby's at 2 a.m. is felonious work. Don't get caught doing that. But no, Pinky and the Brain, I think we can put that in the queue for sure. That's a cartoon that need to be talked about because Pinky is definitely the smarter mouse. Brain is just, he thinks he's smart. He might be intelligent, but he's not smart. All of his plans work until they don't work. And Pinky knows the shit ain't gonna work. That's what makes him the smarter mouse. But anyway.
Hey, if I want to rule the world, we're going to rule it.
Okay, but see, every time he said he's gonna rule the world, what are we gonna do tomorrow night, Brain? Same thing as every night. We're gonna try to take over the world. He never does it. He's a fucking mouse. He can't take over the world.
Look, they took over the world with getting the cheese.
They don't even go for cheese. Brain wants to go for world domination. Pinky just wants to just be him. Okay, you said, what about Real Monsters? Yo, that's a strange ass show. I never got into Real Monsters. I told you on Nickelodeon, What?
Go Gadget Arms.
Inspector Gadget?
Yeah.
I think that shit need to be talked about a little bit too. Because he's literally just a bionic man that's animated. I think Gadget, I think something happened to him where they have to like rebuild him. I think they just had to fucking rebuild him. But Real Monsters, and Skilly said getting Brain and Pinky. W Live. Are you like sex deprived or something? Because you're turning all these shows into some weird ass. What?
Do you know? I just thought of something.
What'd you think about?
Inspector Gadget is similar to RoboCop.
Well, if anything,
If you think about it.
so Inspector Gadget and RoboCop are similar because something must have happened to Gadget to where they had to rebuild him like that.
One was in the fire.
We seen what happened to RoboCop, how he became like that. So maybe RoboCop is inspired by Inspector Gadget. Except Inspector Gadget's not a cop, he's an inspector. And RoboCop is a cop.
Same shit.
They're still law enforcement, but they just...
It's the same. One's an inspector, the other one does inspection.
Yes, and cuz, yeah, do what you gotta do. We're about to wrap this show up anyway. Get your husband, though. He's talking about that he's Jabberjaw behind Arby's. I don't know what's going on with that. Please investigate while you after work, okay? And give Baby T hug and kiss for us. Before we go, have a great day at work. All right, most importantly, you too, Tom. I know you at work too. Boy, Tommy, get to work. She said, I don't claim him. Nah, never call yourself Jabberjaw by Arby's, dog. That's no-go criteria. It's insane. Thank you for the hat and mustache. All right, let's get it. Thank you, partner. All right, so let's I'd like to do my shout outs because you guys are what make the show. First and foremost, we got nobody in the box tonight. Surprisingly, not even Sunshine. She's usually there.
Oh
she's not there tonight. But shout out to, oh, of course. What are you doing, hon?
What?
Nothing. Oh no, I thought I saw you in the box. Skilly said, walking down the street, you see people jabberjawing behind Arby's. Thank you for the ice cream, Ampy.
I did something, and then it's the second time it said, oh, request. I was like, what the
Oh yeah, I saw that. Anyway, shout out to starting off with Tommy and Krista, aka Ginger Snap. Two of the funniest people I usually see grace on here. You know, shout out to Tommy. Jabberjawing behind Arby's. Don't do that anymore, please. And then also check if you're in the Chesapeake, Virginia area, again, check out Moby Tech Automotive. Pretty established shop out there in Chesapeake, Virginia. You need any repairs, small or large, stop by the shop, ask for Tommy himself, and he'll get what you need to get done. Very passionate about cars, especially trucks. So if you got trucks and you need shit done, go visit Moby Tech Automotive down in Chesapeake, Virginia, 757. You will not be disappointed. All right. Also, shout out to Skinless Chicken Nugget and Jim Crow 8585, aka Rio 8585, who still has not changed his name. Shout out to you guys, and of course my other executive producer co-host Anna. Definitely shout out to her as well, the original OG female of the Daily Mind podcast. Also shout out to Mikey, Old South Mike. That's his new name on here, folks. He's no longer Mike, he's Old South Mike, because you know he's Old South. Old South Mikey. Shout out to him. And then also shout out to King, who was on the show a little bit earlier. And of course, Tulio, dropping by, learning something new about Disney, Doug, that nobody really talks about. You said Virginia is no longer the South. Please don't do this right now. My man Mikey said that Virginia is no longer the South.
That's right. It's the East.
Well, you know, it's funny because when I was in Virginia, right, it doesn't really come off as Southy. You know what I mean? When you go to Virginia. Now, it's not like when you go to Tennessee. Well, technically, Virginia is the mid-Atlantic region.
No, it's East.
Look, anything below the Mason-Dixon line.
No. You know why?
Why?
Because its other partner is West.
Why are you a jackass? West Virginia because that's its partner? She said the Virginia is still the South because the West Virginia is still... What?
It's not South, it's East. Virginia is East Virginia.
You need a compass. You need a compass and some common sense. I'm gonna get you a globe for Christmas.
Hey, what about those globes? Remember using them in school? They were awesome.
What are you talking about?
The globes.
Yeah, I wish I had a globe right now so I could show you where Virginia is.
I know where Virginia is. It's right under West Virginia.
It's not under West Virginia. Where are you getting this?
It is.
No, it's not. Under West Virginia?
Yeah. It's
Okay, so
under.
so technically the western part of Virginia is somewhat under West Virginia, but a good portion of Virginia is under Maryland.
Yeah. East Coast, duh.
Oh my God. Hey, listen, but no, Virginia is technically still the South because it's below the Mason-Dixon line, which separates Pennsylvania and Maryland. Okay, but Virginia in your area, Tommy, it's not as South. Honestly, it feels like damn near north. You ain't lying. Mikey, you might be on to something, but that part of Virginia, I know for a fact, definitely doesn't feel very South. But no, I like that region of Virginia. It's pretty dope. So I like it. I would probably move out there one day. You never know. Okay, you said because of the Navy that came here and settled. Yeah, because now you got all these different accents. It's kind of like any military post, right? In a particular area. Not everybody sounds Southern because you got all these different people and walks of life coming into that area. Just like all the people that come from like outside of New York City to New York City. Now you lose the New York accent. So your part of Virginia, Tommy, you guys kind of lost that Southern twang because you got all these people from everywhere coming around and kind of like diluted the Southern voice and the charm. But nah, Virginia's dope. I like Virginia. I've driven through it many times. I got my family out there. I like it. And I like the area that they're in. It's really, really cool. You said Kentucky has become more South. Kentucky's always been South. Clarksville, Tennessee, South. Even with the military community, it's still very South. And yeah, your area, Tommy, is like the 757 area is a melting pot. It's parts of it that kind of reminds me of New York. I'm not even kidding. Like, I can't speak for how that area was in the 90s because I never went over there in the 90s, but Where the most recent times I went, yeah, it definitely feels kind of like borderline Maryland, Delaware, kind of north thing. But hey, it's still Virginia. Virginia's a beautiful state. I love Virginia. I think I've given all my shout outs, of course, and my final biggest shout out to my wife, Ampy, co-producer and wife of the Daily Mind podcast, always helping out with ideas. And again, people, please.
And coming up with silly stuff.
Yeah, and coming up with silly shit like not knowing where West Virginia is.
I know where West Virginia is.
Are you sure?
Yeah, West Virginia's in the west.
Okay, you got that right. West Virginia is indeed in the west. Okay, how west are we talking about here? Is it next to California?
No, it's east-west.
Yo, my lady needs a globe, bro. Somebody failed fucking geography.
It's on the east coast, duh.
Well, technically, West Virginia is the mid-Atlantic region.
But it still falls on the east.
All right, Tommy. Yeah, duty calls for me too. I got to get some sleep, man. Hey, everybody going to work. Have a great, blessed day at work, school, whatever you're doing. Gooning, whatever you plan on doing today. Have a lot of fun with it.
Him in the beginning, not the end.
Add me to the next one in the beginning, not the end. I didn't add you in the end. You came out of nowhere. In fact, you came in at a perfect time. You came like towards the... All right, I'll do... Oh, shit. I did forget to invite Drip on the show. She told me earlier to invite her on the show. Oh, fucking God.
Oh,
Actually, no, I shared it. No, I shared the show. I meant to message her.
You shared it. You didn't share it? Oh, my God.
No, I did share the show, but she wanted me to let her know, message her that we were doing a show, and I totally fucking forgot. Well, it's too late now. Is she even on? Let me see. Hold on. I don't even...
know if she's on. I don't
No, she's not on anyway. She's not on. Don't worry. I got her for the next show. Hey, the next show will be a round table, by the way. All right? On
I
Friday.
thought this was a round table.
This ain't a round table. It's a show about Doug.
We were talking more about other shit.
Yeah, well, it started slowly becoming a round table. That's why I'm just going to get off now because we are officially done. It's a 2-hour show.
Okay.
I didn't even intend on Doug being this long.
Well, Doug is long.
All right, well, shit. All right, y'all. Have a good day. I'm going to show my wife where the Deep South is.
I'll show you the deep.
Yeah. All right. Hey, have a good one, everybody. We're going to do this again in the next couple of days. Give me some ideas. Let's keep the show going. There's plenty to talk about, all right?
Cracks does a crackhead have?
Good night, hun. Later, everybody. Peace. Later. You're crazy. You know that?
You're still online.
I know I'm still online. I want people to see that. Peace.